Well, hello there, everyone. Here I'm Mick right here talking about you for Web Online, and basically this video activity right here I went and put together is talking about for online applications, and I'm sure that most online users who are used to going to internet sites just to complete a job research application or just to apply for something, and I know that they like to say yeah you name it the number of things unemployment or if it's child care benefits or if it's food stamps, that type of stuff. And this right here will be like an example right here of an application. And, I didn't, add all that detail into it to where that, yeah, about, any source of information that it collects, especially if it's going to be anything about anything about for applying for healthcare or some medical insurance or if it's a financial aid applications stuff like that. And I want to put together right here is talk about something for easier said and done. And this right here is I went ahead and add in right here for talk about for information profile and for like we for web online. And this was like an application right here to where to be working it out to where that you would click on one of these lines and then you would put in some specific information such as name, address, and experience. And I know that I could say that whenever you get an application to where it seems like to where you don't really have too many questions about anything, it seems like to where oh yeah, just mark a check here if this applies to you, write in the details right here, and then at some applications to where they ask you to please write, please print it, and I know that. Like anybody, the more I could say, you're going to have distractions. Sometimes with distractions, to where if you're working on something, and all of a sudden that you make a mistake, maybe a small mistake, such as if you put the address in the wrong spot. And anybody, like I say, that yeah, that maybe that's me. I'm like, yeah, well, a lot of times that whenever you are trying to complete an application, if especially online, to where a lot of times if you make a mistake, then usually a lot of times you can erase and then try to correct it and put it in the right spot. But if it's on a if there's any type of paper documents, then if you're going to be using a pen, to complete a number of sources of portions of the application. And if you make a mistake, then it more likely is to where that yeah, well, you may have to ask for a new one, or that they may say, well, just write down below or something, scratch that off and write down below. But on your hand, that you have right here is an example right here of like an application for like a information profile, and it could be a number of sorts of examples. One of those could be it's like for web online, to where that if we would be going to an internet site, and then they want you to go ahead and complete about maybe 14 pages of like a review, to where that please enter your information if it's going to be maybe filing your taxes, that they want to look over the information, and and if we're going to be maybe a lease on an apartment, or if it's a house or anything like that, like, and you name it, to where almost a lot of things are going to be done online. But the whole part of the question is going to be like, really, I'm like, if they say that yep, you don't need no help, you can take care of it, you can fill this out, they give you an application, and then you may write in the parts for it that they ask you for your name, and as well as other source of information, and as well as like for like story explained, and like talking about it's like for anybody say that yeah, well, spelling on the other hand too, but let's just say that that if we're going to be working an application, and you're like Warren toward it, if there's going to be like any type of distractions or any type of question matter, to where that it starts asking you about do you have experience with this? Have you recently purchased this or that? And do you have any? It's like your savings or trust fund or anything like that. It's like any type of sources of amount, and as well as in the past 5 years, they ask you about any type of background records as well. But let's just say that with this application right here is to where that anybody like say that yeah, especially on a job, to where they say that they give you an application, especially maybe at the doctor's office, and a lot of times it's like oh yeah, I can fill it out no problem, and then whenever you look at it, that there may be about one or two questions that remain on there as to where you're not sure how to answer them and what to put down. But I went and, worked right here as like a document right here, and I went and put this right here, background for like a green type color. So these right here are the pictures right here of like my school years, as well as this right here would be like example of me right here holding like a book right here, a tablet, and as well as a student, class teacher, and as well, for Matthew McGuire, the brand new grade book, and but anything that more likely that we may think that it seems not so complicated, and sometimes people that may not want to ask for assistance just because that they don't want them to feel like they're dumb or anything like that, or the reason could be it's like maybe that they're just too shy really to ask. So it's like anybody to ask about maybe about the form 1098 or something like that, that they're trying to work out on their financial aid information, and as well as maybe any source of benefits. But anybody like one or two where that why is it that a lot of times that the call for any type of internet connection, to where why is it that maybe some places you do not pay for that, such as to where that financial aid that may only pay for so much, but let's just say on average that I could probably assume that more likely that there are some things that more likely that the financial aid does pay for, as well as that are paid for on a student voucher. But on the other hand, that I'm like, yeah, there are some times to where people that may run out of funds, they may run out of benefits, and then that puts us in like a financial issue, crisis, to where that an issue to where that any source of information that is by provided. You have right here for like web online, and this was like a title I would think I was thinking about right here, and as well as for information profile. If we were to be looking at this and then spend about maybe 15 minutes just completing the stuff that we know how to write, especially the any for general information, and if it starts asking you questions about maybe about how much that you made from your taxes, other source of information on your taxes, and then about the address. If it asks you about, that you please explain about maybe the change of jobs, and as well as maybe the moving situation. Have you how long has it been since you last been at this address, and as well as if you've changed companies, did any transfers or anything like that. So I'm sure anybody that more likely one or two where that if you're going to be doing like a web online profile, like any type of job application, to where that if it's going to be school or benefits or anything like that, that more likely that there's going to be like sources of a review and information, such as has this changed or has that changed. And it seems like to where that either something either has changed or it's incorrect. And I guess it goes by question to where who's responsible for making sure it's all correct and accurate and then updated. And like I say, yeah, well, do your homework. Log on to this website, correct the information. Your last name is not spelled correctly. The numbers, the letters and numbers are reversed. Change it. Here's an example of what you got to mark. And then right here, please write down the amount of benefits that you made, and as well as explain the story about this or that, for what the application asked for. So anybody that more likely say that, if they don't, if they're not experienced with all those online stuff, as to where that more likely they're going to have complications. But let's say that don't hesitate to ask. It's like that, like we say that, yeah, a lot of people are able to, zip through the whole application within 10 or 15 minutes whenever they ask you about maybe 25 questions, and sometimes people may not be able to move that fast. But let's just say that on average, to where really, are they really timing you about 25 minutes, or are they really timing you about, well, do not lie on the application. Any information that's listed on here, it's important. And they say that, yeah, even if you have to spend about 5 extra minutes just to make sure, have somebody else look over it, make sure it's correct, that's what you got to do. But on the hand, so easy to say than it is done, but basically means is to like, yeah, you can handle it. But then after about 25 minutes, like, oh, well, you may need some assistance. But other than that, like, yeah, well, there's like the time chart to where that somebody that may only be able to contain so much information as well. But anyway, but the habit there is like for a web online information profile, knowing about really like do the best we can. So far as for the great updates, it's like for information that's considered important. Other than that, thanks for watching.